Good morning, Maria, back with another video. It's 9:28 a.m. It is October 30th. Oh, wow. I have my day off. I actually thought today was Halloween, but actually it's tomorrow, so I'm like really off. Isn't that crazy? Well, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and use this little picture anyway for my video, and I guess I'll talk a little bit about Halloween um, and just how things are going right now. So anyway, I was bored as usual, so I decided to make a video because it does make time go by faster. Like there's really nothing for me to entertain myself with, and so sometimes I will go ahead and make art projects or something, but you're not always in the mood for that, and so you can't really put yourself into something if you're not feeling any enthusiasm for it at that moment. So, and my other options are, okay, going for a walk, and I can't walk that far right now. So it's just, I'm very bored at home. I'm still like tripping on the fact that I actually thought today was Halloween, but whatever, it doesn't really matter. It's all the same day to me when you really get down to it. And I've noticed like throughout the years, people aren't really into the holidays as much as they used to be, which is unfortunate because, I know when I was younger, I did go through this period where I studied with Jehovah's Witnesses and then I stopped doing the holidays. But then as I got older, I was like, you start realizing that, yeah, these particular holidays are not really associated with like Halloween's not a religious holiday by any means. Like I know that Christmas is considered a pagan holiday, but I don't look at Christmas as Jesus's birthday. I look at it more as a winter celebration or something along those lines. So I think it pretty much depends on your conscience. I think that a lot of Christians or people who are concerned about following biblical guidelines and whatever, they usually have to kind of basically balance what goes against their principles. Like just about everything comes from certain origins that didn't originate in Christianity. Like I believe I mentioned before, like the wedding ring is not necessarily a Christian creation. It was actually a symbolism of something else, but it gets incorporated into society, and so I guess they saw the benefit of it because it does identify who's married, who's not. So then they decided to keep the wedding ring. Days of the week, all these things that we do on a daily basis are not necessarily rooted in those foundations. So you have to pick and choose. Okay, now when it comes to Halloween, I think I just associate it with the autumn and of course childhood and I enjoyed that when I was little. I enjoyed going trick-or-treating, and I know that's something that people really don't do nowadays as much. I mean, I've heard some places do it, certain areas or whatever, but it just doesn't happen that often anymore. And, I know that I was kidding with my son, I think it was yesterday. I was like, oh, are you going to Halloween parties and you're going to be bobbing for apples, Because, I mean, those are the things that people used to do, And then he brought up the whole COVID-19 thing, and it made me laugh because it's like, I completely forgot about that. I don't think about that until I walk out the front door. I always keep a mask in my purse, because I'm always ready, So like if I go out and I'm always afraid that I'm going to forget my mask. I get all the way to a store or something, and then like, oh, I forgot my mask. So I always keep one. But in my house, that's just not something. It's not really a reality. I don't think about it very much. But anyway, yeah, things are a lot different now. So, today is going to be one of those days where I'm just going to kind of kick back and relax a little bit. Maybe watch some of the old Halloween specials, and what else is there to do? What else is there to do? But of course, I could think about negative things because unfortunately, when you deal with gang stalking, it leaves you with nothing but negative memories because everything that's associated with your past is associated with the people who created the abuse, So then you have to purge things out of your mind. And I find, um, certain thoughts about this whole issue is extremely disturbing to me. I think I covered this in one of my videos, my last video, I think it was, talking about the stalking aspect of it, the deception of it, the conspiring and all this other stuff. That to me is so disturbing, that I don't have any fond memories anymore, other than, looking back on like certain days when I was a kid, holidays, how I celebrated them, how I, or just things that I did on my own. I honestly feel like this point in my life, it's like everyone kind of has to get purged out of my thoughts and mind, because I no longer want to associate myself with those things anymore. So, um, so anyway, yeah, I was, I was thinking about how sadly, my mind has changed on like issues relating to work. Like I've always loved working, okay? And it's sad because now I associate that with something negative. And it's sad because, that was my one thing that I cared about in my life. That was the one thing that I cared about um, in my life, because that was my activity. That was everything I had, basically. And so, when you realize that, because there's not, okay. And so, really, the name of this video should be about relationships, because I was thinking about, the people that I knew in the past and how they were associated with my perps, and I'm not talking about relationships like amorous relationships. I'm referring to just friendships, acquaintances, even coworkers that I knew in the past, and how unfortunate, it was that I had to be surrounded in such a toxic environment for the longest period of time. And so, when you think about the kind of people that you want in your life, it's hard to do that, especially when I do suspect that I've been cyber stalked as well. There's people that I've talked to on YouTube and other social sites, and then their attitude sort of changes, because I do believe that some of these perps are like following me on these social sites and then like destroying my relationships, which is one of the reasons why they do talk about, when they talk about gang stalking, that usually cyber stalking also goes along with it. They want you to only associate with their people, which this is obviously a sign of human trafficking. And I don't want to have any association with the people that I used to know, because of me becoming aware of their manipulative behavior. And these people want more of me than I don't even want to give to anything to these people, mainly because I feel as though, looking back, not just the 23 years of my work life, okay, that these people have come sabotaged, okay, for their own entertainment, but I'm just thinking about, growing up, what I had to deal with, the childhood bullying on the playground, all of the roadblocks that were thrown in my way, for such a long period of time. It's like, people can't change. I mean, they could come to certain understandings, but they can never really change their root foundation, and so, there might be some of my perps who might be like, oh, I didn't realize this is what's going on with her. They might be sorry, but to be in their proximity, to be associated with them on a close level is impossible. Because in the back of my mind, I'm always going to think about what they did and the root and their nature of these people who did what they did to me. And so, you know, I would love to meet new people, but I have standards. So my video about relationships today is talking about standards, and basically standards of who I choose to associate with. And it's hard because really, it's very difficult to find true friends. It really is. And I can give you several examples of that. But most of the time, you want to associate with your people who are coming to you from a position of sincerity. And that's something that most people don't understand. That's a concept that is very rare. Like, I don't want to deal with needy people, and especially emotionally needy people. People who want to cling to me and use me and have contests behind my back and constantly compare themselves to me or try to one-up me. I don't want that in my life. You know what I mean? I don't. I want harmonious relationships, friendships that are harmonious. And I know there's been all this talk about, Maria, she needs to get married, blah, 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 blah. Like I said, mind your own business. You know, if that was something that was a top priority on my list, I would be working towards that, and I'm not. I'm not working towards that. And I think some people were like, well, why is it that you don't want to? Why? And I get irritated with the fact that I feel like I have to justify myself. You know, I shouldn't have to. But I will say that, working that many years and picking, falling down, getting, bullied at work, picking myself back up, going back into the workplace, only for it to happen over and over and over again throughout the years that all these things have happened to me. I'm looking back and I'm thinking, I'm almost 50 years old. Look how much of my life was taken from me. My life has been taken, absorbed, and and basically I suffered, a long, long period of time under the abuse of these people. And so, I've come to realize that there is a very malicious undertone to all the relationships that I've had in the past, And I'm not just talking about like romantic relationships. I'm talking about, friendships, all relationships in general. So, when you are gang stalked, you generally encounter people who are associated with the people that you used to know. Okay. So this is not my main reason for not wanting to be in a relationship, because I'm a solitary person. You understand, most of my life I've been by myself. Okay. And, when I was raising my son, I raised him by myself. And then I ended up getting married to the same person who basically abused me, right? But still, but most of the time I've been on my own for a very, very long time, and I'm fine being by myself. I don't have that desire, you know what I mean? I don't have the desire to get married. And I know it's hard for a lot of people to understand, because most people come from a completely different background. And I'm not talking about racial background. I'm talking about, anybody can, maybe people who've been, just in general, who are used to being in family type environments, that was normal to them, well, there wasn't really any abuse. There's always some abuse in relationships, but it wasn't as high level as it was with me, to where they don't understand why I choose to be this way. But whatever the case is, that's my choice. You know what I mean? It's my choice. I prefer to just live out the rest of my life, with hobbies, and find certain people in my life that I could feel close to, meaning like I could have, decent friendships based on the certain standards that I choose to have. And if I don't have those kind of friendships, well then, maybe I can devote my time and energy into other things. You know what I mean? Because one thing's for sure, I have gotten to the point where I don't want to deal with people and their abuse and their dramas. I don't want to deal with it, and rightfully so, So, I know that some people have a strong regard for marriage, and, I'm going to tell you, I don't. I don't have the same view as marriage as most people. And that's another thing where I don't really feel as though I have to justify myself. But I know that if a person is not willing to be in a marriage, they shouldn't do it, because you're going to fail that person, because they're going to have expectations and you're not going to want to fulfill those expectations, and there's just going to be nothing but conflict. I'm fine on my own. I really am. So just kind of mind your own business. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but just mind your own business. Not everything that people do is relating to wanting to get a man. It just isn't. And I know that there's a lot of societal pressure for women like myself to get married. And that's not on their agenda. It's not on their list. And it should be respected. It's like, if they say that, then they respect it. Now, like when it comes to my perps and stuff like that, I know that if I was to find someone, it would probably be a honey trap. And eventually I would find out, because I'm no longer, I don't tap into, what I mean by tap into, I don't psychoanalyze everybody that I encounter, because if I was to do that, I would go crazy. I would go crazy. But if I was to be in a relationship where I'm in the same house every day with that person, they're spending a lot of time with me, I'm eventually going to want to know, who are you? where you come from, what is your motive. And if I was to be in a relationship with somebody and I found out he was associated with the people that I used to know, I would immediately become afraid of this person. So, I know there's going to be attempts to people, wanting to match make me or whatever, and I'm not interested in doing that. My thing is that, and it's hard for these people, my perps, to accept the fact that I don't want anything to do with them, but it should be understandable. Why would anybody want to have something to do with people who abuse them, especially in the manner that they did, right? So, no. This is my life, and I'm content with it. Like, I don't need to be in a relationship to be happy. I really don't. I don't need to have kids, although I think kids are very cute. Like I said, I think kids are very cute. And I enjoy the little things that they do and whatever, but I don't have it in me to want to be a mother all over again. Like, I'm already a mother to a child who's grown, okay? But I don't have the patience. And I know I don't, so why would you put a child in, a person who knows they don't have any patience for children at this point, okay? In a situation where they just don't feel it. The kid would eventually pick up on the fact that I'm not that gung-ho about it. I'm realistic, I'm not that gung-ho about it. So they would either end up feeling really neglected, unwanted, even though I'm sure I would love that child, but I wouldn't be a full 100% giving parent. And I know that I wouldn't, and not at this point, So I think a lot of people get into bad situations because of the outside pressure. And there I go again, touching that button. But yeah, but my feeling is that you have to really know yourself, and don't let other people try to convince you or manipulate you into certain situations that are going to be bad for you in the long run. And a good example of being manipulated was, like, for example, some of the jobs that I worked at, right? Some of the jobs that I worked at, I felt manipulated mainly because, number one, I didn't ask for the job. Okay, that was not the kind of job that I wanted to be in. And then they wanted to put all these stipulations on me that aren't for a job that I didn't even find remotely fulfilling. So it's like, you want me to sacrifice this, you want me to sacrifice that, you don't want me doing this, you don't want me doing that for something that I basically hate from the get-go. So, I want to find people in my life that I have things in common with, who understand me, who respect me as a person. It's unfortunate that I had to deal with what I had to deal with. It really was. But anyway, I'm still kind of a little bit alarmed by the fact that I actually thought today was Halloween. When I was a kid, sometimes Halloween would roll on a Monday, which I didn't like it as much, okay? It was always to me a special thing when Halloween rolled on a weekend. You know what I mean? That way you could sit there and collect your candy and spend the entire day, the next day, just munching on your candy, not having anything to do. That's how I always imagined it in my mind. It's like, I always looked for these opportunities to where I had free time so I could really enjoy something. I never really particularly liked it when it fell on a weekday, but things are different now. And I'm not happy with the way things are. I know that everything kind of irritates me at this point. I don't like television. I don't like the TV shows. I really don't like the music. I get online in the morning and I look at these news flashes, things that people think are newsworthy that I don't even give a shit about. They've always talked about celebrity relationships and what celebrities are doing and stuff like that. And I can't get into that stuff. I can't. And I think what the backward thinking of my perps was that they thought that they could change me. They could change me into something that I'm not, to accommodate them so they can maybe feel closer to me or whatever. And it's like, well, to me, what you need to do in life is you need to find out people who are like yourself. Associate with people who are like yourself. If you have traditional views, if you believe in a particular religion and you are adamant about being in a religion, you should associate with people who are a part of that religion. You know what I mean? And most of the time you meet these people at your churches or, your church or whatever, but you don't try to make somebody into something that they're not so that you could be friends with them or that, or whatever, you know what I mean? And, I prefer to be around people who are open-minded, who have a good head on their shoulders, meaning that people who aren't insecure to where they're like constantly, if I have a friend who wants to compete and compare with me, okay, they're not my friend. They're not your friend. Okay. Because I mean that, and anybody should know that, but they don't. They tend to associate with people who they know are stabbing them in the back every day. I've seen these sort of relationships. People have talked to me about these sort of relationships. They're like, oh, I can't stand so and so, and they're like telling me, I'm going to go out to lunch. I'm going to have friends. I'm going to have lunch with so and so, the same person who they know is talking shit about them behind their back and all this other stuff. And I do understand, you have to cooperate with certain people. Okay, sometimes you get in situations where you have to have, some sort of cooperation. But what I didn't appreciate is the fact that these people tried to force me into a situation where I had to cooperate with them. You know what I mean? Knowing that we are completely opposite people. We are completely um, different. We're different people. You know what I mean? And so these expectations that you're putting on me, it's impossible. You know what I mean? And I really didn't like being in that situation. I hated being in that situation. It was horrible. And so, like, everything that I remember has been negative, So it's hard to be at home with only negative thoughts in your head. So that you have to find some sort of distraction at times. And so, luckily, I do have some forms of distraction, okay? But like I said, I try to be off the computer as much as I possibly can. I don't like being on the computer that much. I mean, for work, it's fine. If I'm doing an assignment like making a video, I call it an assignment or project. I'm making a video, working on PowerPoint, something like that. I don't mind doing that, but when at home, I would prefer to do just, either my household chores, my crafts, make things, whatever. I would prefer to do those sort of things. Um, but I'm very bored at home, and I don't like having the negative thoughts in my mind. I don't like having to think that somebody would actually go out of their way to harm me in this sort of manner. Yeah, that's hard for me to understand. And then it's hard for me because I'm not the kind of person who does that sort of stuff. Like I don't pay attention to what other people do. And I don't have it in me to sit here and compare and want to be a part. Like, for example, I was talking about the contest that I suspect was going on, this comparison between me and the girl that I used to work with. I have no interest in that. Like I said, I don't know where her whereabouts are. It hasn't even occurred to me to Google her name to find out. I don't care. You know what I mean? And I am very leery of people who have this sick need to compare themselves with me or anybody for that matter. But I did look up I was looking for the specific name or syndrome about that sort of personality type or that disorder. And they basically just said it was borderline personality disorder. And I'm like, wait, no. I know it has another name. It's considered a form of a syndrome. I could not research that information. But they basically were talking about borderline personalities where this is one of the behavioral traits that they fall into. Like they will, because some people don't have any interest of their own. They don't have anything that makes them unique or different or whatever. So, like, for example, they might have a friend. There was a girl who was talking about her cousin. She had a cousin who would mimic things that she did. Like if she had a particular goal in mind, or if she wanted to take a particular class, her cousin would do the same thing. And at first, she thought, she was kind of like thinking that maybe she was just kind of giving her cousin some sort of guidance and giving her some sort of step in the right direction. But then her cousin started dressing like her, started talking like her, developing her mannerisms. She had a very small, a limited amount of friends. So she started like pushing herself into her cousin's social circle, surrounding herself, dating her old boyfriends and stuff like this. And it's strange. You know what I mean? And then this girl was basically saying how she felt as though this particular person was acting as a parasite, which is a very good word because they can suck you dry. They can suck you dry, you know, and I don't want parasites. You know what I mean? This is a girl who I worked with. I didn't really know her that well. I didn't. I knew her from work. I think we did have a meal one time together. Um, and I know that she was creating some issues at my workplace, but I don't really know her that well. Okay. Um, but I do believe that based off of all the videos that I've made, putting all these things together, that I know that she's responsible. I plays a huge role because before I know I've been dealing with workplace mobbings in the past that was created by my perps, okay? But she has somehow intermingled with the people that I used to know, and then this gave her fuel for the fire to feel entitled to bully me, basically. And but I don't really know her, okay? And I really don't appreciate this, competition. I don't want to be in a competition. My life is about just going forward, like focusing on what I need to do to take care of whatever I need to do. Like in this case, I just want to get a job, okay? So I try to focus on those things. And I understand, like when you look for work or whatever, there's going to be other applicants. There's going to be, but I understand these guidelines. You might have, a bunch of applicants, but you don't sit here and try to, you know, compete in a manner where you're going out to other companies, telling this person not to hire them, creating blacklists, this sort of stuff. That's illegal. Okay. The way that you compete is, like, for example, some people try to change their cover letters a little bit differently, or they might do follow up with the employer more than other people do, or something. But that's basically within those guidelines. That's the only legal way to deal with the competition. You know what I mean? I know that when you apply for jobs or whatever, there's going to be maybe 200, 300 applications, right? So you try to, like, when you go to the job interview, you try to present yourself well. You try to answer all the interview questions. You might study for the interview. These are the things that I do things ethically, okay? It never occurred to me to do something like this. I'm not somebody who wants to throw people under the bus or anything like that. I understand the job market is extremely competitive, but it should never be competitive to where you are basically jeopardizing somebody's life. And the only reason why I came to the understanding that she must be in some sort of relationship with these people that I used to know is because I don't understand what would make a young girl behave in this sort of manner. Why would somebody want to detach me from my natural behaviors, meaning the things that I do and I like to do, unless of course she's like, just like insistent on it. Like, I think she has an issue with my clothes. She has an issue with the way that I dress or whatever. Why would somebody care other than this is some sort of competition of a love interest? And I don't, like I said, I don't compete over love interest, okay? I really don't. I don't love my ex-husband, okay? And rightfully so. That was abusive, okay? Like I said, he knew. I remember telling him, I don't remember when I told him, but I remember telling him, I told him a lie when I first got together with him. And he acted as if that was okay. So I just figured, okay, well then we'll just go on. Actually, there's a video that I did about that. A little bit after it happened, I think it was. But anyway, yeah, I told him about it. So, and then yet he was still like conspiring against me and all this other stuff. So and then the very fact that the way that he handled it, he knew the psychological anguish that I was going through, and he continued to do what he did. No, I don't love that person. I don't. I don't love him. You know what I mean? And I don't think that he's worthy of my love. So if you want to have him, go. Feel free to have him. And as far as the guy from high school, I don't know him that well. You know what I mean? I know I had like a lot of unrealistic expectations for him because, like I said, most of the little things that I had about him in my mind were in my mind. Like, you think this person looks good, he's very handsome, blah, 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 blah. So you make up this personality that matches the face. And that's it. But obviously there's some sort of weird thing that goes on in her mind where she feels like she has to beat people. Like she wants to, I'm not interested in anything like that. I couldn't care less about that. You know what I mean? It's disappointing that, somebody would actually go out and do that. You know what I mean? Because, and it's disappointing that I thought that this person was this way, but he's really that way. It's disappointing on that level. But I mean, people know each other through the online, the internet, and stuff like that. It's a small world. You know what I mean? People are going to be with people. They're going to date people. They're going to marry people. They're going to do whatever. You know what I mean? But if you're a part of a group that has basically conspired to throw me under the bus, why would I want to have a? Why would I feel jealous about wanting a person or wanting a person back, or fighting for a person after they've done this to me? You know what I mean? Sometimes I think people's need for competition blinds them to the obvious realities of things, But what I'm looking for in relationships, friendships particularly, is I don't want drama. I don't. I don't want any drama. I want, true friends. Like, people should have that. And you're never going to find people like that in large numbers because that's impossible to do. Most people are self-serving, backbiting, they gossip about you behind your back. And it's sad, but, it's true. So you have to be selective about those sort of people. And chances are, if you find one good friend in this life, one good friend who supports you, who talks well of you behind your back, you're a truly blessed person. Okay, but there's no way in the world if you have 5 friends that all 5 friends are going to be good to you. That it's just not going to happen. I'm a realist. You know what I mean? So anyway, I'm trying to get on with my life, and it's hard. It's very hard because you feel you don't feel safe because you see that her psychosis basically spread around places. And I don't want to interact with people who are going to be a part of some sort of agenda. I don't want to deal with it. I just don't, and that should have been respected from the very get-go. So when you compete against people when it comes to work, you have to compete and some people, they have advantages. They do have advantages. Like, for example, if I don't know who I do know a few of the names. I don't know any of the important people in this community, like the people who own a lot, who have the generational wealth, what I call it. Like they've been established here in this particular town for many, many years, generations or whatever. I know of their names. I have never met some of them. Some of them I have been introduced to, but I've never really developed a relationship. But some people are in connection. They have the right connections, okay? And sometimes they know these people, so they get certain advantages. There's nothing wrong with a job referral. If you get a job referral and these people help you out, that's great. Okay, is it a part of competition? Well, not really. I mean, it's consider it a gift. Okay, consider it something. It's an advantage that you have. Okay, but for a lot of people like me, we're just another piece of paper that the employer is going to be looking at. And so when you're these sort of illegal competitions, they're more than just illegal. They're immoral and they're life threatening. And I think a lot of employers don't understand that. But this is the reason why, because blacklisting is illegal because it puts somebody's life in danger. That's why. You don't enforce things like religion. You don't create divisions in the workplace based on religion, race, personal things, whether you're married or whatever. Just anything. You don't talk about a person's appearance. You don't do those sort of things. You strictly focus on their professionalism. There's reasons for these guidelines, and this is what people don't understand. So anyway, I'm disappointed that today's not Halloween. Because I was like, I was all ready to open up I'm still gonna eat my candy corns. I got a bag of candy corns and stuff. I figure I was gonna go ahead and do that. I'm just going to go ahead and act as if it is Halloween today and go ahead and do those things. And then tomorrow I'll just play it cool. I got laundry to do, and it's been very difficult to get coins. I don't know if a lot of other people have noticed this, but it's just ridiculous trying to get coins now. So that has become a big downer. You know, I usually don't mind doing laundry. It's just the fact that now to prepare to get the laundry done, it's become like you got to jump through a bunch of hoops to get some fucking, you know, coins for your laundry. It's ridiculous. Okay, it's ridiculous. This coin shortage. I don't know if the coin shortage has anything to do with the virus thing or whatever, but all these little inconveniences seem to be rolling our way. Okay, and I'm getting tired of it. So I'm gonna wrap up this video, and I will be back with another video sometime later. Take care.